Right, what have I got today? Bush, it is a small EDC light today, and it is from Wurkkos. Now, for those who don't know, Wurkkos is associated with, or so I'm told anyway, is associated with Sofern. I like Sofern. I am looking at a Sofern at the moment, which I can't seem to put my hands on, but it is knocking about somewhere. It's over there. I really like the Soferns. If you remember, I used to always sort of say how much I like the SP40, which was a really, really low priced but high value concept of a headlamp. It did everything that you needed basically for a headlamp, other than it wasn't a TIR. But Wurkkos is the same. You get a hell of a lot for a low price, and that's why I like Wurkkos. If you remember, I think it was the TS11 I looked at, really liked it. I doubted some of the output figures, but other than that, I really liked it. So this is the Wurkkos TS10. Here's the package. I mean, that's not particularly interesting. Let's open it up. I've put it back exactly as it came, but obviously the battery's in now and it's ready. As you can see, there is the blue. I'll explain why that is blue. That's not the LEDs, that are the auxiliary LEDs. So take everything out. So Bush, get rid of that. There's the instructions, which I can't be bothered to read. Whee, get a shot of that. There's the light itself and all the bits and pieces. I took the clip off because I didn't use it. It wasn't particularly... It was okay. Look, I'll show you. So the clip goes on like that. The problem with the clip is it's okay. It's okay. It's not deep carry, although you could argue this is so small. Do you need deep carry? Probably not, because I have had this in my pocket every day. I took this up the Highlands of Scotland. It's been all over with me at work, walking about. I even took it out for a run. I had it in a back pocket. It's okay. It's semi-reversible, but just to a degree, you could put that on the peak of a cap like that, and then you could sort of, you know, your head would be here, and then you could use that to look around. So it is doable, but I just think this was okay. It's an okay clip. So I didn't make much use of it, so I'll put that to one side. Also with it, now, there are various ways you can buy this. You can buy this with a cell or without. I went for with, and bearing in mind, even though this came with a cell and it's a really, really good light, it was under 20 bucks delivered. That's incredible value prospect there. You also get a little charger because unlike a lot of these small EDC lights, there is no USB port, and the cell itself, which comes with it, doesn't have a USB port either, because some of them which are sealed like this, they come with a cell, but the cell at the top, at the protection circuit, it has a little USB. This doesn't, so you'll have to take the cell completely out and place it in here, for example. I've tried it in all the chargers and it works, but it's nice to see that they give you this, and look, it is type C. So in fact, sorry, micro USB, sorry. So that's the one thing I don't like about this. It's a micro USB, but to be honest, not a lot of lights would even bother to add this. You know, they wouldn't probably put this in, they'd just say, sort it out yourself. So yes, it's micro USB, but you know, it's not the end of the world. This is a very cheap throwaway item anyway. So Bush, get shot of that. Here are the bits that I generally don't use, but you get your two little O-rings, which is nice. It's always nice to have them just for replacing. So you get two there. They seem decent quality. They've got a bit of stretch to them. They're not particularly thick, although the claims by the manufacturer are that this is IPX8. So it's waterproof. Sometimes they'll read IPX8, you can put it under 2 meters of water. In their own literature, it's 1 meter. And underneath it says, do not dive, or something like that. Don't go diving. Okay, so no deep sea diving. Okay, so put them to one side. You get your lanyard, which you can put around. If I remember, it is, yeah, it's on here. There. There's a tiny little point there. So you've got to put the lanyard through there, which is a bit weird, but it means it keeps this nice and clean. You haven't got a little hole here for the lanyard to go in. So you bear in mind, you'd have to use the clip. And in regards to the lanyard, it's a pretty standard one. Right, I pull that. That is really hurting now. Really, really hurting. And hasn't broken, so that's okay. It's fine. It's not a particularly premium one, but at this price point, completely understandable. So Bush, get rid of that. Right, let's talk about what we are looking at here. So this is the Wurkkos TS10, and it is a triple emitter. So ignore the blue just for a second, but it is a triple emitter. So look at that. So you have these three emitters. Now the emitters that it comes with are CSP. I've never heard of CSP, so I don't have a clue who they are, but the light is beautiful. There is a lack of flicker at the higher levels. I will discuss a tiny flicker, which is sometimes noticeable at the very, very, very low end of the spectrum, but we'll discuss that with the CRI and tint levels. But other than that, really good, and it's high CRI. So CRI stands for Color Rendering Index. In other words, daylight, which is coming in now, I'm doing this during the day, so this is daylight coming in, is 100%. It represents all colors. As you use some LEDs, you know, it's something like this, the LED on this would be something around the 70%. So it's okay, it's perfectly acceptable, it's not an issue. And down the far end of the spectrum, you would have something like a sunbed or a tannin salon light. It's very horrible and you get nasty colour cast and you're losing the full gamut of colours. This is way up there, and I will show you in a moment. I did do the testing and it was way past 90. So they're saying 90 plus, it is 90 plus, it's past 95%. So I was extremely impressed with that. So like I say, a triple emitter. Now there are choices when you buy this. You can buy this with a 4000 Kelvin value or a 6000 Kelvin value. The differences are, this is 4000, it's quite a warm light. Some people would call this warm towards neutral. I would say neutral is like 5000, sort of 5000-ish. This is warmer. 5000 is more towards like normal light on planet Earth once it's gone through the atmosphere. And 6000K is another option you can have. That's at the far end, and it is a white light. So something like, I think this one will probably be quite light. Yeah, that's more of a white light. It's hard to see actually. If I haven't really got a good example, that's a whiter one. There you go. So just to show you, so there's white at the top there, and then we'll compare that with this one. So pop that there. So can you see there's a big difference there? In fact, if I put it on the same colour, it might help. Can you see that? So this is whiter and this is warmer. We'll call it warmer, but bear in mind those values are Kelvin values, so, and it describes the tint. I've gone for the 4000, which I like, but in both instances you don't have to make that harsh decision between high CRI or not. You still get, whether it's 4000 or 6000, it's still high CRI, which is nice to see. You do have auxiliary LEDs. Now there are 3 of those, so they're not the big ones, but they're the tiny little ones. So the idea of an auxiliary LED is to produce a little bit of light all the time, and it's to help, it gives you utility and it looks cool. So in this regard, I've gone for the blue option, but you can go for orange and red. I think there used to be, there was another option I'd seen, maybe it's a green one and a brass bodied one, but I don't know if that was like a special edition because I couldn't see that to buy anyway. In regards to the colour of the light, this is the silver one. You can get it in black, red, and I think I saw a green one. I wanted the green one initially, then I thought, you know what, the silver paired with the blue will probably look quite cool because it matches some of my PCs that I build. So I thought I'll go for that, and I'm very, very happy with this. And bear in mind, you probably think, well, hang on, I mean, this looks really strong. It is, but you can adjust that, and when we do the UI, I'll explain how you can have this off. You can have it extremely low, extremely high, or pulsing. Now bear in mind at this level there's going to be a parasitic drain, so when you're doing nothing and it's just sat there, that is using the cell, because you don't get something for nothing. That's how physics works, so it has to draw from the cell. So just bear that in mind. But obviously if you're worried about that, you can just go like that. There you go, problem solved. Or turn it off in the UI. So there it is. Boosh, turn it back on. Well, if I can get it to go back on. I've broken it. Right, it's back on. Okay, so we've gone over the colours and the CSP. Now the maximum LED output on this is 1400 lumens, which is extremely high. No, it's really, really high. That's on its maximum turbo, not max ramping, but turbo. So if you turn it on and you ramp it all the way at the top, that's the full, but then if you go double click again, that's maximum. Extremely bright look, very, very diffuse. I really like the TIR setup on this. It's extremely diffuse, and for a small EDC light where you're probably going to be working primarily up close, a TIR is an excellent choice. It reminds me of the FWAA, very, very similar look. Triple emitter again. This doesn't have the auxiliaries, and this is by Lumentop. I had the button problems, but you can check my review for that. I don't want to start slagging it off. The tint's slightly better on this, but you know, this isn't high CRI and it doesn't have the auxiliaries, but very, very similar setup, very similar. And they both use it's a 14500 cell, so it looks like a AA. It isn't a AA, so I'll just show you that now, because I got the one with the cell and it happens to be a button top. It's a 900 milliamp there, so that's the capacity, 900 milliamp. And the chemistry, so because bear in mind it looks like a AA, it isn't. It's a 14500, which means the chemistry it's using is a lithium ion, much more powerful, much more juice in there, and because of that it's running at 3.7 volts. So compare that to something like a normal alkaline will be 1.5 volts, or on any of these nickel metal hydrides these are 1.2, which it should say somewhere. There you go, 1.2. Unfortunately, you can't fall back to a AA cell. I tried a Duracell AA 1.5 volt. That didn't work. I tried both of these, and Anyloop Pro, I think this is, yeah, an Anyloop Pro, and just any old wacko rechargeable. These are both nickel metal hydrides. Neither of them worked, so you have to use this. It's a shame that you can't fall back to AAA, but you can't have everything. I'll mark them down half a point for that though. So stick that in, and it is a button top. But even though it's a button top, because there's a big spring, see at the bottom, I was able to use a flat top because I do have, in fact, I've got it in here. And I did, yes, I did the shake test. It keeps working. So there you go. So I have this one, which is quite a high output. So it's a high capacity and high 10 amp discharge for this size. Flat top, and that still worked. I was able to carry that, use it in here, and even when I was shaking it, it still stayed on. So it does work. So if you have any flat tops knocking about, you may not need to buy the one with a cell and get it even cheaper. Okay, so I did say this is IPX8, so it's waterproof, which is brilliant, as long as this is properly put like that, and it has a drop rating of 1 meter. I would have liked to have seen 1.4, 1.5-ish, up to the 2 meter, but it's a small, cheap light. I'll forgive them for that. At this price level, I will forgive them. Okay, so in regards to the tint and CRI, in fact, we'll put this down here. Let's bring up a picture here. Okay, so here's some little testing I did on the light. So what I wanted to do was, I thought, right, let's test. Is this really a high CRI, color rendering index light? And as you can see, it is. The CRI I got was 98.2%. Yes, there's margin of error on my testing device, but regardless, it's not that far off, and that's extremely high and extremely impressive, especially at this price point. So very, very happy with that. The tint was very close to the claimed 4,000. I got 4,134, and that's negligible difference there. So it's around the 4,000, so perfect. So they've done excellent there. Now, if you notice, I tested this twice for flicker. I tested on its very, very lowest, which is a very sort of faint output, and then I tested on its highest. So as you can see on the graphs, not just the figures, and it says low and low risk and things like that, but you'll notice there is pulse width modulation. It's slightly visible on camera on its very, very lowest, and you'll notice that disappears the higher the output goes. It stays on longer. So under normal usage, I wasn't able to see it, put it that way, but I just wanted to point out that I did test for that and there was nothing untoward. Okay, so get rid of that picture there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is now, for those who are squeamish, you may want to use this little cheat bar here and avoid me talking about the UI because it's very lengthy. And I realise not everybody wants to know that because they've already owned a Anduril light. For those who don't, I'll cover that now. Okay, so in fact, let me clean this out the way and then I can concentrate a bit more. Okay, so we'll go over this briefly. I am not going to tell you every single option, and the reason I'm not going to tell you every single option is because Anduril is extremely complex. I'm going to cover the basics. There are more options above and beyond this. So your basic operation for this is one click on, one click off. So one click on and one click off, and it's memory mode. So it remembers where you were. You can click and then you can ramp up and ramp down. So if you watch my thumb here, I'm holding it. So if I hold it, it ramps up, then that's reached its maximum. Then you click and hold and it will go down to its lowest ramp. So look, hardly see it. That is on. See it? That's an absolute lowest there. And you may or may not see actually the pulse width I was talking about there. You can barely see it there. You can see it a little bit flickering. So that's your basic there. And then you have a turbo. So if you want to go to turbo, it is 2 clicks. So double click, boom, that's your maximum. Now you can't get turbo from off. So if you're off and you double click, it just goes to highest ramping. And then to get the actual turbo, click it again, and then it jumps up again. So there is no direct turbo from off, but I'll forgive them that because the high ramp is pretty high anyway. And bear in mind, I can feel the heat already rising here. That's now too hot to touch. Within about 30 seconds, the automatic temperature regulation is going to kick in. It's going to say, now hang on, I can't maintain this because it's getting far too hot, and it will start to step down. And you'll see that after about 25 to 30 seconds, depending on the temperature of where you are. So I'll turn that off. Already the heat has reached here, and I can feel that in my fingers because it's a very small light, but then turn that off. So just bear in mind that is a aspect of this light. It's so small that turbo should be used in short duration, and you're going to run the cell down anyway because it's only a 900 milliamp hours if you get the one that they send you. So those are your basic functions. You also have 3 clicks, which is a battery check. So if you think, well, what the hell's my cell doing, you can go 1, 2, 3, and then it will flash out what your battery is doing. So let's do this now. So if we get 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, so 3.9 volts. So it needs charging. It'll go up to the 4.2 level, but it is certainly up there, and it doesn't need charge. It's not sort of, you know, life-threatening at the moment. So that is blinking it out as a voltage, not a percentage, as a voltage. Now you also have a beacon mode and an SOS, and you can change the beacon and hold it for frequency. I'm not going to go through that with this because I'm trying to do this rapidly. So 4 clicks is E-lock. So bear in mind you can do that to lock it. So it can't function now because I've just broken the circuit, but you can use this function. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That is now locked. So if I press the button, I will get momentary only. So you see, if I press that, I'm getting a tiny little bit. You might not even see it, so that you get a really low level. You can double click it to get a tiny little bit more. There, to get a little bit more. I use that regularly. If I lock a light and I put it in my pocket, I don't want to go, oh, I need to use the light. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, let's use the light. In fact, hang on, I haven't unlocked that. 1, 2, 3, 4. There, now it is. And then unlock it, and then, hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, now it's unlocked. There, and then use it, and then turn it off, then lock it again. I don't want it to go through all that. It's easier to 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, now it should be locked. I can just get a small momentary off. I need a little bit more. Double press. So way better. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to normal mode. I like that. That's a really nice system. You have 5 clicks will turn it to momentary. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then it won't work. And when you press the button, you get momentary only. No ramping, nothing else. So if we do that, hold it down, but as soon as my finger lets go, watch, it goes off. Almost like a tactical mode. And if you want to reset that, just unlock it there, and bang, you're back to normal mode, back to ramping. I should have mentioned actually with the ramping, you can change the ramping from smooth to, if I remember, you can have smooth or stepped. So with a double click, you can say, right, I want that stepped. And I think it's 2, or was it 3? 1, 2, 3 when it's on. Yeah, it is. So 3. So now when I press this, watch. 1, 2, 3. Can you see it stepping through them? Flash, 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 flash. So you can see them, and you can use that as a visual indicator and say, well, I know that that is at number 5. Therefore, the battery should last X amount of time, for example. So when it's on, 1, 2, 3, back to smooth ramping. So now when I press it, it should be a smooth, uninterrupted ramp there. You see that? I prefer smooth because I'm not that bothered about battery level. I would, you know, if I was that bothered, I'd carry a spare or something like that. So that's what you've got. You also have click, click, hold. So if we go click, click, hold, this will take you to a special mode. Now you may or may not see that. Can you see that almost flickering? That is candle mode. So it's aping what a candle does when it flutters and varies in brightness and output. Can you see it there? And you can click and hold to change the intensity. So click and hold makes it a much brighter candle. So if you're in, you know, the cathedral there, or you can click and hold and go down again, and then you're in a tiny little shack and it's a tiny little candle, or a birthday candle for, you know, an aunt or something like that. So within that mode you can also go through the mode. So click, click, hold takes you in, and then 2 clicks will change the mode. So the next one should be, I think, is bike flasher. So bear in mind we're in candle mode, that we're inside the click, click, hold. So 2 clicks. Right, there's bike flasher. So what's bike flasher? Well, as you can see, it uses a beam, but then it draws attention to itself by having that flicker. So it's a safety feature, really, and it allows drivers to see where you are, for example. The next is party mode, which I'm going to, party strobe, which I'm going to cover momentarily. So 1, 2, there's party strobe. I want to cover it just in case people don't like strobes. Now within that, you can change that frequency, so you can click and hold, and it gets faster, so that's really fast, and then you can click and go the other way, and it changes it to slower strobe. So you can change the frequency to completely suit yourself. Then you have tack strobe, which is maximum output. So yeah, that's maximum output, and it is flickering, and again you can change the frequency of that to whatever you like. And then the next one is lightning storm. So 1, 2, yeah, lightning storm is supposed to ape a lightning storm, so you get a small little flicker. I'm not pressing the button here. Okay, so a little bit of a flicker there, boom, boom, a bit more. So, you know, if you're hosting a Halloween party, I don't know when you would need that, but if you're hosting a Halloween party, you know, fill your boots. Okay, and then to come back out of there, just, yeah, back to normal. So that was your click, click, hold modes. You also have 5 clicks hold, which takes you to sunset, and then you can hold it down to set the duration. Sunset is, so you could say like I want to set the duration to 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, whatever, and it will slowly ramp down from whatever mode it's on to off. So that's for people who are scared of the dark or something. I don't know how, if you're romantic or Barry White, I don't know. You also have 7 clicks, which changes the auxiliaries, so turn that off. So that's off. There are 2 sections to this though, so your 7 clicks changes the auxiliary behavior. So looking at this, at the moment that's on high. So if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, there, it's now on, well, it's pulse really. So it pulses a little bit, then pulses a lot, then pulses a little bit, then pulses a lot. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, off. And then I think the next one should be ultra low. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There, very low. So you would say that at night, it would help you find the light, but it's not really providing much more than that. And the one I have it in at the moment is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That one, nice and bright because I don't care and I charge my batteries regularly. You can also change that behavior in when it's locked. So if we go to 1, 2, 3, 4, if I do it correctly, yeah, it's okay. So that's now locked. You can say, okay, within lock mode, I wanted to do something differently. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can have strobe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Low. What I tend to do is I have it as pulse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I know whether it's locked. So if I look at that and I think that's bright, it's unlocked. If it's strobing, I know that it's locked. So you can have a separate behavior of the auxiliary depending on what mode you're in, whether it's standard or locked. Or most people just do that anyway, and then you're saving the battery. Okay, so that's the basics. Now that I realise that's not every part of Anduril, but I just wanted to cover that for the people who haven't used it before and want to see the feature set. So right, everyone else can now come back. It's safe. The URI is done. I've waffled on for ages. Okay, so back to this. So I went out and I did some testing with a load of other lights of a very similar size. Most of them using a 14500 cell, exactly like this. Some of them were triple emitters and all sorts of things. So in fact, we'll bring up a photograph. Okay, so here's the testing I did. I was as fair as possible, same length exposure. I pointed at exactly the same target from the same height and the same hand. I did it, everything's the same. Okay, so we tested the Brianite HL16, which is a TIR, but it's very punchy. Now because it's very punchy, you lose a bit of peripheral. So as you can see, yes, it's great on that stump right in the middle and the trees in the middle, but there's nothing right in the distance and to the sides. Not particularly useful for going for a hike, is it? Up close, that's not such an issue, but if you were to go for a hike, for example, you may want something a bit wider. The one next to it, the Lumentop FWAA, which I showed you at the start of this review because it's very similar. It's got those triple emitters, same cell, similar 1400 output. You can see that's a beautiful tint. The browns and reds are coming out on that wood. It looks a hell of a lot more natural. The ground actually looks brown, which it should do. There is very little sort of tint shift. There's a little bit in that HL16, which you're not seeing in the FWAA. And as you can see, left and right, you can actually see there's trees there, and it pushes out a little bit into the distance. It's to me anyway, if I'm outside, it's much more preferable and usable. The next one I tested with was the Lumentop Tool AAV2, which is a small light, 600-ish lumens. Really, really nice light, and it comes with a diffuser for up close work, which is exceptionally handy. Not particularly good clip, but I love the Lumentop, and I've bought multiples of them because I really like them. But as you can see, because it's using a smooth reflector, which is primarily, not always, but primarily used for lights that want to push into the distance, that is exactly what this is doing. Now, I would say the periphery, far left and far right, is still better than the Brianite though. It's not as bright in the middle because it's spreading out a little bit more, which is a bit more useful. So you could actually hike with this light. So that's something to bear in mind. And colour wise, it's okay, but the tint isn't as nice as the Lumentop, is it? Okay, so I tested the Skillhunt E2A, a very nice budget light, but again, it's suffering the fate of the Brianite. It's punchy, even though it is a micro lens TIR, so you'd expect, okay, micro lens TIR, it must be lovely and diffuse. It isn't. In this instance, it wasn't. It was actually very punchy. In fact, tiny little bit more punchy than the Brionite. So periphery suffers, not good for outdoors, but you can't have a light that does everything. It's just not always possible. But I still like the Skill Hunt. It is very, very good for the price, and I can highly recommend it as a small tail click. I really, really like it. But just in this instance, I would say it's probably the worst of the bunch here. Tint's fine, you know, it's pretty nice. It's certainly not as brown as the other ones on the wood where you would expect it, but it's not awful looking. I also then tested the Wurkkos TS10, which is what this review is about. And as you can see, I think that's particularly nice. You could argue, if you compare and scrutinize, you could see the lumen top looks brighter. And I think it does. However, I don't think it's producing more lumens. If you look at the stump in the middle and the trees, the three trees, I would say they're brighter, and the periphery is a tiny bit darker than the lumen top. So it's not a matter of, oh, one's got more lumens than the other. No, it's how those lumens are used. The Wurkkos is slightly concentrating them more, but not too much. You can still use it. Whereas the lumen top is way, way floodier. It always was a really nice floody one, but it's almost like a frosted TIR, which is quite nice, whereas the Wurkkos is more traditional TIR. And I think in that regards, I've got no problems with that. I still thoroughly enjoy using the Wurkkos, and I was even hiking with it, which is, even for me, that is really good. And the colour rendering is nice there. And the next one was the Nightcore Tip SE, and I realised that uses a non-replaceable battery, but it was just for the size. I think that does an okay job. Tint-wise, it's a little bit harsh, but there's nothing wrong with it. A little bit of periphery. It kind of looks a bit like if you were to take the Wurkkos, put the output down by, say, 300, 400 lumens, and then make it white, which is, bear in mind, probably where it is, because the Nightcore Tip SE is 700 lumens on its maximum setting there. So to sum up, you can see the Brionite's punchy, not so good peripheral, same with the Skill Hunt. The Wurkkos and lumen top are very similar, but the Wurkkos is a tiny little bit better in the middle, but a tiny little bit more periphery for the lumen top, depends what you want. Lumen top tool AA is okay, it's okay, but more punchy, but it's not as bright. It's only about 600 lumens, but it's going to last longer if you think about it. And then the Nightcore Tip SE is okay, but it's a keychain light. Okay, so get rid of that photograph there. Right, that's gone. Okay, so we need to talk about good points and bad points, and I'll show you the lights that I looked at. So these were the ones that I looked at. So pros, price, for less than 20 bucks, you get this with Angular, brilliant OGS LEDs, 90, higher than 90 on the CRI. You get a choice of bodies, a choice of auxiliaries, a choice of tint, IPX8, 1400 lumens. I think that's exceptional value. So as usual, Wurkkos really kick it out the park in that regard, and it's a nice light to use. It's really nice. If anything, it's too small, but that's my problem. I'm a tall guy. Most people, that's not going to be a problem, and I can't mark them down for that. You know, you can't mark them down because you're a giant, put it that way. So price, exceptional. High output, so, you know, I mean, really, really good output. So if we put that on, there you go. If I unlock it, it helps. There you go, right, unlocked. So, you know, extremely bright, beautiful, and you get 30 seconds, and to be fair, on a small light like this, that's perfectly acceptable. So excellent price, high output, very small. Look at that, gone in my hand, gone, wouldn't know it's there. TIR, and it works. The TIR is beautiful. Yes, you could see this is a tiny bit more floody, but I don't care, because you're not always going to be hiking with this, and up close you can't really notice. No problems with this. The auxiliary LEDs are brilliant, and you can see it, right, I want them pulsing, I want them low, I want them off. But bear in mind, at the high level like this, there will be a drain on the battery, and bear in mind it is a 900 milliamp hours. Bear that in mind. But that's up to the user, that's the important thing. Uses Angular V2, which is fully feature rich. Just bear in mind, when this came out of the box, it was in muggle mode. So to get into normal advanced mode, to get all these things that I'm talking about, you need to do 10 clicks. So do your 10 clicks and it'll flash, 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 and then you can do all the things that I mentioned in the UI section. If you don't, in simple, you just get click on, off, you get a max ramp, a battery check, and I think E-lock, and that's it. So, but that makes sense for the mass market, so they don't get lost in Angular with millions of flashes and things like that. I get why they're doing that. The high CRI, beautiful, extremely high, 98.2%. Wurkkos, well done. Tint options, 4,000 or 6,000. There's not a lot I can complain about. The only thing I can complain about is the fact that it is non-AA fallback. So if this isn't working and you've got a spare AA, you can't stick it in. Even if it's a nickel metal hydride or alkaline, won't work. So that's the one thing I can mark them down for. So in a quick comparison to these, before I give it a mark out of 10, which I am going to give it a high one, spoiler there, you could get this, but you're not getting the auxiliaries, you're not necessarily getting the high CRI, and you've got that button issue with the FWAA from Lumen Top, so I probably wouldn't get that. Yes, the Brynite has a magnetic base, but it's not a tail clicker, which are always quite nice. The clip's just as okay as that. It does have added value because you've got like little angles, you can hang it on things and put it on bits of metal, but that's not really what this is for. You're only getting 502 lumens out of this though. So 502 or 1400, I think I'd have the 1400. Bear in mind this uses a 16340 cell, which is the fat short ones. This does use exactly the same cell though, the 14500. The Tool AA, this is the V2. Beautiful, and you can use the diffuser, glows in the dark. It's got a glow in the dark rim and everything, but it is a smooth reflector, so it's trying to do something different, but it's perfectly acceptable. Clip's okay. I like this light, and I've bought it multiple times, and I've told people to get it multiple times. I've got no problems with this light, but I would probably rather get this, even though there's nothing inherently bad with that one. The E2A by Skill Hunt, excellent, really like it, nice beam. Apart from really up close, you get these strange, if I send it there, you get these strange artifacts. You might be able to see them there if I turn it up a little bit. Can you see them there? It's something that's hard to see. There, can you see them? Almost looks like a supernova in the distance there. That's just up close though, but it's certainly not as smooth as this, which is a shame, but it's another cheap light. But I've got no problems with that. But again, I'll go for this. There's the Tip SE, which is the upgrade from the normal Tip. 700 lumens dual emitter, traditional emitter there. Quite nice. You've got that daft daily mode and demo mode and all that rubbish, but it works, and it's a nice gift for people where you think, well, I can't get them that if they're non-flashaholic because they're going to get lost in annual. But you could argue, well, this comes with annual in muggle mode, so they shouldn't get lost. So I'd still go for this. So, marks out of 10. Excellent price, high output, small size, excellent TIR, auxiliary LEDs, I love, and you've got all those choices, tint options, very, very high CRI and annual too, and you can put it into advanced if you want it. The only thing I can sort of see I don't like is you can't fall back to a AA. But if that's all I can complain about, I'm going to have to give this 9 out of 10. Well done. You'd be mad not to get one, basically. You'd be mad. I'll put the link in the description. I'm not trying to make money. It will just be a normal link straight to their website. So it's not affiliate. You can trust this review. I always do honest reviews. But you'd be mad not to get one. I'm really impressed with this. I'm very happy with it. I might get a few more for people at work or something like that. Very impressed. Anyway, enough of this. I've done plenty of comparisons and night shots and things like that. I've been out with this. I've genuinely carried this for weeks. I've been into the Highlands. I've been hiking and all sorts of things. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Right. Here come the shots. 9 out of 10. Well done, Wurkkos. Another really, really good light for the price. So I am off. Goodbye.